Hi, today we are going to learn about reactive forms in Angular. Angular has two types of forms. Okay, one is template driven forms and another one is reactive forms. Okay, if you have any small use case, like you have very simple control like one or two controls and you are not doing any big validations and you are not doing any testing on that, then maybe template driven forms will be easy for you. But if the forms are bigger and you need any additional custom validations and also you want to do testing on that, then maybe reactive forms might be good fit for your use case. Okay, reactive forms models are reusable. You can declare once and then you can reuse across components, but in template driven forms you can't do that. Okay, so when you are coding, the template driven forms will be maybe look simpler, but when your use case become complex or you want to do scalability, then reactive forms will be a best fit for that use case. Okay, and also when we are doing template driven forms, we mostly will use the ng model directive. In turn, the directive is controlling the form API internally, but what reactive forms is doing is it will directly give the access to us, the models, whatever the underlying models. So we can do much logic, very flexible logic, right? And also all the APIs are mostly a reactive based API. It will be like observables for you. So you can use all the RxJS operators we already know, right? So it will be easy for us to do complex logics. Okay? This video, I make the assumption of you already familiar with Angular and you already know about the template driven forms. Then you should know all of this to follow this reactive forms video. If not, please refer any of the video which will teach you basic Angular and template driven forms, and then come back to this video. Okay, now let us create one project. Okay, in Angular. I am putting a name as reactive forms. Okay, let the Angular CLI create the project and install the dependencies for us. Okay, now the project got created. Let us open the project in editor. Okay, to use the reactive forms in our project, we first import the reactive forms model in our main model. Okay, this model present inside the Angular forms package. Let us do that. Angular forms. Reactive form model. Okay, now we imported this reactive model. Now we can go to the component. In the component, I am going to create a template first. Let us delete the default, all those things. Let us create a form. Let's remove the action. We can add the action later. Okay, here first I am going to create a input called name. Okay, name, and then maybe a input with the text. Then the next div, let us create a input called password. Okay, this is the type of password. Okay, now we can add one button to actually submit this form. Type should be a submit, and then value should be submit. Okay, now we have form ready, but there is no data, or there is no model bind to the form yet, so we need to do that. For that, let us go to the component, create a form. I name this form as a login form equal to new form group. Okay, so what we are doing here is we have more than one control, right? The name control and then password control, so we need two data model to bind with that. Every field we will create one form control. Okay, and then we will group those form control, create a form group that is will handle all the input fields. Whatever the input fields inside the group, it will handle as a one. Okay, what I mean, let me explain that. Name form control, okay, and then maybe password, and then one form control. Both should be a new, new form control. Yes. Okay, now see, the name is the one form control, and then password is another form control. I am grouping those both two controls with a form group class. Okay, so now this login form object will contain the instance of this form group. Okay, now we can take this form group and then bind the form group over here. Okay, form group equal to login form. That means we are saying whatever the fields we have in the login form will be inside this form tag. Okay, so the name and password will be inside this form tag. Angular will check those controls and take care of it. Okay. Now we associated the login form with the form tag. Now we need to associate this two controls, form controls, to the particular field. Okay, for that we don't have any direct variable. Okay, so this is a property inside another object, so we can't use directly the property binding syntax for it. So Angular has another directive that is called form control name. Okay, so the first form control name is the name. So what we are saying here is, go find the login form. Inside the login form there is a form control with the name of name. Okay, so take that control and associate with this field. That is what we are doing here. And then same way we can associate the form control for password as well. Take the password, put it here. Okay, so now what we are doing is, go to the login form, find the form control name, password, and associate that with this input field. Okay, now whenever we are clicking on submit, the form will trigger the submit event. Here, since we want to Angular to handle those submit event, we will use ng submit. ng submit will call a submit function. Right now there is no submit function. Let us write those. Submit function inside that function I'm not doing anything. I'll just do console.log and then this dot login form dot value. Okay, here what I'm doing is take the login form and then print the value for me. Okay, so what this value will does it will have a JSON representation of our fields. Okay, so now since we have two fields, it will be a JSON of two property. Each property will contain the value we entered in name and password. Okay, let us run and see how it's work. npm start. Okay, it's compiled. Now we can go to the browser, localhost 400 4200. Okay, yeah, now we have this fields auto file from the browser. We can delete it. Okay, let us open the console, keep it here. Let's enter some value, maybe Ravin, then password sum123. Yeah, and when I click, I got the value name Ravin and then password 123. Okay, this is like very simple form of reactive form what you can do with the reactive forms. Okay, now let us go another way. The same forms we can solve with another way as well. Without using this form group, I can do like this as well. Let's command it, create this as a separate controls. Name and password is a separate fields. Okay, let's comment this console.log for a while. Now since we don't have any form group, we are just creating directly two different form control. Okay, in the template we no longer use this form group. Okay, and then here instead of form control name, we need to use the directory called form control. Okay, so this is the form control that will directly associate with the name form control. Okay, so this is the form control, it will directly associate with the name form control. Same way for password as well, we'll use the form control directive. Now both fields are bind to their form controls, and whenever the user clicking on submit, the ng submit will get triggered and then the submit function will get called. Here what we can do is we can console log this field separately, name, that should be this dot name dot value. Okay, so the value property is the same. It doesn't matter whether it's a form group or form control. Whenever you want to get the value of the from the particular form, you just use the value property. Okay, it's a read-only property. You can't set the value, you can only read the value. Okay, and then another console.log password and then this dot password dot value. Let us check this one as well. In user interface there is no change. Okay, can clear this, clicking on submit, right? Okay, since there is no form to control, the ng submit is not working properly. So what we can do is we can remove this ng submit, right? We can put a click event directly here. We can call the submit from here. Okay, but still I think it will trigger the form submit. Let us try. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So what is happening? It's printing the value. Maybe I'll put a breakpoint and then we can check. Yeah, it's actually coming here. The name value is coming here, password value is coming here, right? But what is happening, because we are calling a submit, the by default the browser will trigger the some post request, so the page was getting refreshed. Okay, since there is no Angular forms to control the behavior, we removed the forms from there, right? So that is what is happening here. For that, for this particular use case, we may remove this forms tag and then maybe change this type to button. Now it should work. Here, Robin. 1, 2, 3. Console. Submit. Yeah, now it should be fine. Okay, now there is no submit. Since there is no submit request, there is no refresh, so we are able to see the console logs. So most probably we will not use this method. If you have 1 or 2 control, you are not going to get any big forms on the page, then maybe okay to use form control. But most of the case, you are better off with use form groups, because if in future if you are going to add more control as well, then if you are using form controls, then you need to create a separate variables for everything and then manage those things. If you want to reset the form controls, then you need to reset the every variables, right? If you have form group, you can control all the form control as a one unit. So it's always better to use form group until unless you're sure you're going to be get 1 or 2 controls only you can manage. Yeah, then in that case it's okay to use form control. Okay, now we know how to use form control and how to create basic form groups. Okay, now one of the advantage of this reactive forms, we can very easily enable validations. Okay, let us remove this code, all these codes. Okay, now we again have our login forms. We can maybe bring back the original structure, right? Yeah. Okay, now I want this name and then password should be a trigger field. Okay, until unless someone enter the both value, I don't want my submit field should be enabled. Okay, how we can do that? Some error showing Let's see what is that. Yeah, we didn't attach any form control on that, form group on that. Okay, let's do that. Form group, login form. Now it should work. Yeah. Okay. Now unless someone enter this both value, I should disable the submit button. I don't want the user to clicking on submit button without entering anything. Right now, even if I don't have anything, right, I can go ahead and click the submit button. Let us do the validation for it. For a form control, the first value, whatever value you are passing, it's a default value. Okay, let me show that one. We can send it from here. So this will be set as initial value. You can see, right, this value set it as a default value, and then the second parameter is the validator. Okay, so the validators, we have lot of predefined validators. We can use those. Also we can create a custom validators. Okay, we can see in the upcoming videos how to create a custom validators on those things. Right now we'll use the existing validator whatever Angular provides. Okay, so this validator comes from Angular Forms. You can see this validator class I imported. From there I import the validation called record. That means I am telling Angular, okay, these two fields are required. If that fields are not filled, make sure set the form status as invalid. Okay, so Angular internally maintain the status of forms and form controls, each form controls. Based on your validation, it will say whether the particular thing is valid or invalid. Okay, so for example, I have two validation here, right, for name and password. In case of if the user didn't enter anything for the password, the name form control will be valid, the password form control will be invalid. But since the password is the child for the form group, the form group also will be invalid. Okay, so any one of the fields inside a form group, if it is invalid, then the form group also will become an invalid. So you no need to check for individual controls whether all validations are satisfied or not. You can simply check the form group. If the form group is valid, that means all the child form control are valid. Okay, let us check this one. What I can do is I can take this login form, in the input field I can do like maybe disabled. Here we can use the disabled one. Login form dot invalid. Yeah, login form dot valid is the if it is not valid, just disable submit button. Okay, let's see here in the output. Right now there is both field have a value, so it's a valid form. Let's delete this one. Yeah, now the password field become invalid, so the button got disabled. Okay, in the DOM also you can see this one. This DOM, this is the input field for password. Okay, Angular will add a class. This dirty and touch will explain later what is that means, but focus on this one. Okay, what it says is ng invalid. Okay, that means that particular field, the validation is not fulfilled, so it's become invalid. In case of the name, it's still in a valid. Okay, now let me remove that as well. Okay, now if you see, since I removed everything, it's become invalid. Okay, now let's enter something for both name. Yeah, now name become valid, and then here is the password. I'll enter something, password become valid, so my form also became valid, my button got enabled again. Okay, now hope you now understand basics of what is form control, what is form group, and how to do the basic validations on those. Okay, upcoming videos we'll see what is form builder, okay, and then how we can do nested form grouping as well as form array, and also we will see how to do custom validators. Yeah, we'll see a lot of things. Okay, yeah, until then, bye.